Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life where we stop sprinting and start wondering why the legs that carried us through our youth now feel distant, numb, or even forgotten. But what if I told that your legs haven't failed you, that this numbness is not a sign of age, but a signal, an invitation, a signal from your nervous system asking for reconnection? Japan's oldest practicing doctor once said, when the legs go silent, it's not the end, it's the beginning of awareness. In other words, your body is whispering to you, wake me up. The real reason your legs go numb isn't just aging, it's disconnection, it's a slowing of blood flow, a dormancy of nerves, a loss of daily challenge to the body's map. But this disconnection is not permanent. Neuroscience has shown us this. Your brain is not fixed. It's flexible. It's listening. And when you move with intention, breathe with power, and focus with clarity, you reignite pathways that have slept for years. Every two tap, every ankle circle, every deep breath is a message to your brain. I'm still here. I'm still alive. Start your morning not with dread, but with design. Walk. Wiggle. Balance on one leg for 30 seconds while brushing your teeth. Feel the blood return, the nerves awaken, the fire light again. Use your eyes. Look at your feet as they move. You're not just moving muscle, you're carving new roads in your brain. Celebrate small wins. Dopamine doesn't just come from rewards, it comes from progress. And progress, even at 60, 70, 90, is still possible. This is not about fighting age, it's about becoming more connected to your body than ever before. So if your legs feel numb, remember they're not gone. They're waiting for you to return with breath, with movement, with purpose. You have the tools, you have the time. Now all you need is the will. Wake them up. They're ready. When we talk about numbness in the legs after 60, we're not just dealing with a muscular or circulatory issue. We're witnessing a disruption in the communication between the brain and the body. The sensory nerves that provide feedback from the feet and legs to the brain, and the motor nerves that deliver commands from the brain to the muscles, rely on continuous use and focus engagement to stay active and responsive. When that feedback loop goes dormant due to lack of movement, long periods of sitting, or age-related nerve degeneration, numbness can set in. But the good news is this loop can be reactivated. Scientific research has shown that intentional, focused movement, especially when paired with mental attention, can wake up these dormant pathways. For instance, when you deliberately raise your leg and consciously think about the movement, feeling the contraction in your quadriceps or the pressure under your foot, you create a feedback cycle that reinforces those neural connections. This is neuroplasticity in actioning, the brain reshaping itself based on use. The more often you activate the brain-body loop with clear, purposeful action, the stronger that pathway becomes. Light mobility drills like ankle rolls to flexes, standing heel raises, or even walking on textured surfaces barefoot can stimulate the mechanoreceptors in the feet and send high-fidelity signals back to the somatosensory cortex, enhancing your brain's mapping of your lower body. Adding focus, such as counting reps, closing your eyes to improve proprioception, or visualizing the movement as you perform it, supercharges the process. The nervous system adapts not just to action, but to awareness of that action. This is why distraction-based movement, like passive walking while scrolling a phone, doesn't yield the same benefits. The loop thrives on attention. Without it, the signals remain faint. With it, they grow louder, more efficient, and more restorative. This is how sensation returns. This is how numbness is reversed. Not in a moment, but through consistent, deliberate reinforcement of the signals between your brain and your body, turning each step into a neurological statement that the system is still alive, still learning, and still capable of change. And the human body's vascular system is a dynamic highway for nutrients, oxygen, and neural signals. And after age 60, diminished blood becomes one of the most overlooked contributors to leg numbness. As circulation slows, especially in the extremities, the peripheral nerves, those responsible for sensation and movement, become undernourished, oxygen deprived, and sluggish in communication. But there's a highly effective, science-backed way to reverse this by strategically leveraging breathwork and controlled cold exposure to increase vascular tone, stimulate nitric oxide release, and improve capillary responsiveness. Deep diaphragmatic breathing, particularly nasal inhalation followed by prolonged exhalation, activates the parasympathetic nervous system and causes vasodilation, a process where blood vessels widen and allow more oxygen-rich blood to flow into neglected areas like the lower legs and feet. Practices such as box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, or cyclic sighing not only calm the nervous system, but also trigger fluctuations in intrathoracic pressure, which enhances venous return, the rate at which blood returns to the heart, and improves peripheral circulation. When paired with short bouts of cold exposure, such as immersing the feet in cold water or using a cold compress around the calves, you initiate a powerful hormetic response. This temporary stress causes the blood vessels to constrict and then rapidly upon rewarming, flushing out stagnant blood and pre-oxygenating tissues. Repeated exposure to this vascular stress trains the blood vessels to become more responsive and elastic, enhancing blood flow efficiency and supporting the recovery of nerve function in the legs. Cold exposure also increases norepinephrine levels, which plays a crucial role in nerve regeneration and inflammation control, two key factors in restoring leg sensation and mobility. Alternating warm and cold exposure can further amplify this effect, essentially pumping blood in and out of affected areas like a natural circulatory workout. Combined with breath, these protocols reawaken a system that has gone quiet, reinvigorating the lower body from the inside out, nourishing the very nerves responsible for balance, strength, and sensory awareness in the feet and legs. The nervous system doesn't operate in isolation from time. It follows the rhythm of the body's internal clock, the circadian rhythm, which governs not only sleep and wake cycles, but also hormonal release, alertness levels, cellular repair, and neuroplasticity. After age 60, this rhythm can begin to drift if not consciously anchored. And with it, the efficiency of neural recovery and adaptation, the ability of the brain to rewire it to strengthen communication between sensory nerves and the motor cortex, to repair damaged pathways, and to restore sensation to areas like the legs, follows a 24-hour biological cadence, and timing your recovery efforts to that cadence can profoundly accelerate results. Research shows that the early morning, particularly within 30 to 90 minutes of waking, is a window when the brain is most primed for learning and plasticity. This is when cortisol levels naturally spike, promoting alertness, attention, and readiness for movement-based rewiring. Performing leg activation routines, balance drills, or even focused breathwork during this taps into the brain's peak capacity to form new neural connections. Morning light exposure on the eyes, even for just 5 to 10 minutes, further sets the master clock in the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, aligning every cell in the body to the correct time and enhancing the reliability of the circadian rhythm. This alignment ensures that restorative processes like myelin repair around nerves, mitochondrial function within muscle cells, and the production of growth factors such as BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, occur with optimal timing and precision. Consistently engaging in leg-focused recovery practices at the same time each day signals to the nervous system that these actions are meaningful and should be prioritized neurologically. Even practices done later in the day, such as evening stretching or light balance training, if done at a consistent hour, begin to shape the brain's time-stamped expectation for repair. Over time, this creates a self-reinforcing loop where the nervous system anticipates and enhances the benefits of movement and sensory input based on when it is delivered, making the recovery of leg sensation and control not only more effective but more sustainable. The human brain maintains a detailed map of the body called the somatosensory and motor cortices, where every part of the body has a corresponding neural representation. Over time, especially after the age of 60, if certain body parts like the feet or legs are not moved frequently or consciously, their representation in the brain begins to fade, leading to a dulling of sensation, poor balance, and a sense of numbness or detachment. One of the most effective ways to revive and sharpen these maps is through the use of visual targeting. Actively looking at the body part being moved, and guiding movement with visual attention. When you watch your foot as it flexes or visually track your knee rising and lowering during a march in place, you are not just seeing the movement. You are engaging an integrated system of motor planning, visual processing, and proprioception that deepens the brain's ownership of that movement. This visual focus strengthens the neural circuits that connect vision with motor output, particularly in areas like the parietal lobe, which helps integrate sensory input with action. Studies show that combining sight with action increases cortical elevation and precision, especially in older adults where automatic motor maps have deteriorated from lack of use. For example, performing to lifts while watching your toes move upward reinforces the accuracy of the movement and improves the sensory feedback loop between the feet and the brain. This is especially potent when the visual field is clear, well lit, and distraction-free, allowing the brain to devote more bandwidth to the visual motor task at hand. Incorporating mirrors, video feedback, or even slow motion recordings can amplify this effect, giving the brain multiple streams of feedback to process and encode. Over time, consistent visual targeting reshapes and refines movement map, improving coordination, balance, and sensory clarity. This practice is particularly vital for lower body training, as the legs are furthest from the brain and most often neglected in terms of conscious visual attention. The more frequently you bring your eyes to the movement and pair that with slow, deliberate control, the more vivid and responsive the brain's map of legs becomes, restoring not just movement, but the deep internal sense of where your limbs are in space. Dopamine is not just the molecule of pleasure, it is the mole of motivation, reinforcement, and effort-based learning, and its role becomes especially vital in the recovery of numb or weak legs after 60. As dopamine levels naturally decline with age, so too does the drive to initiate movement. The pleasure derived from effort and the brain's ability to sustain attention and engagement with physical tasks. But the dopaminergic system remains highly sensitive to perception, especially the perception of progress. This is where the power of micro goals comes in. Setting small, immediately achievable targets, such as lifting your leg 5 times while seated, walking to the mailbox unaided, or standing on one foot for 10 seconds, creates discrete, measurable wins that your brain can recognize and reward with a pulse of dopamine. These small goals might seem insignificant at first glance, but they are neurologically potent. Each time a micro goal is completed, the brain's reward circuitry, especially the ventral tegmental area, VTAC, and nucleus accumbens, is activated, reinforcing the behavior and increasing the likelihood of repetition. Over time, this repetition builds momentum and rewires the brain to seek out and enjoy effort rather than avoid it. The beauty of micro goals lies in their scalability. It can be adjusted daily to stay just above your current threshold, maintaining the perfect balance between challenge and achievability. This balance is crucial because dopamine release is greatest when you achieve something slightly difficult, enough to feel earned, but not so hard that it leads to failure or frustration. Micro goals also allow for continuous feedback, enabling you to track your own progress and build what neuroscientists call a self-directed dopaminergic loop, where the mere act of striving and progressing towards something becomes inherently rewarding. Writing down your micro goals and checking them off enhances this loop further by creating visual confirmation of success, which in turn signals the prefrontal cortex to stay focused and the midbrain to release more dopamine. The process becomes cyclical. Effort leads to achievement. Achievement leads to reward, and reward fuels more effort. In the context of leg recovery, this means that even the smallest movement, if framed as a goal and completed with intention, becomes a neurological tool for motivation, learning, and transformation, slowly reigniting both your physical abilities and your internal drive to move forward. As the body ages, maintaining balance becomes more than a matter of muscle strength. It becomes a neurological challenge, requiring the seamless coordination of sensory input, motor control, and mental focus. One of the most effective ways to accelerate neural repair, particularly for restoring leg function and resolving numbness after 60, is to combine physical balance work with simultaneous cognitive load. This pairing stimulates a phenomenon known as dual task training, which enhances brain plasticity by recruiting multiple neural systems at once, forcing the brain to process movement, attention, and decision-making in real time. When you stand on one foot while counting backwards by sevens, or hold a semi-squat while reciting the days of the week in reverse order, you are actively engaging both the prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and working memory, and the cerebellum, responsible for coordination and balance, forging stronger cross-talk between brain regions that typically weaken with age. This integration improves postural control, reaction time, and sensory awareness, making the body more resilient to falls and the brain more adept at interpreting signals from the lower extremities. Simple exercises like heel to walking while naming fruits, balancing on an unstable surface while spelling words aloud, or shifting weight from side to side while solving mental puzzles can dramatically amplify the brain's learning environment. These activities introduce variability and unpredictability into the training, which is critical for real-world functional mobility. As the nervous system adapts to these dual demands, it develops a higher capacity for coordination and reactivity, two factors often diminished when numbness in the leg sets in. The cognitive component not only challenges the brain, but also elevates the reward value of the task, enhancing dopamine release and attention. This mental engagement is crucial because passive balance work, like simply standing on one foot, loses neuroplastic potency if it becomes automatic or effortless. The added cognitive load keeps the task novel and demanding, triggering the brain's adaptive systems and deepening the imprint of each physical movement. By regularly combining balance training with focused mental effort, you create a neural environment where both body and mind are co-activated, encouraging deeper repair, faster adaptation, and a return of both sensation and confidence in leg function.